Marathon Mensch is the 8th episode of The Critic, first broadcast on June 8th, 1994. The script was written by a young man by the name of Judd Apatow, who later would go on to become probably one of the more influential comedic filmmakers of the 21st century, having his hand on several movies that have become classics to this point. Anchorman, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I don't think I really need to tell you who he is, but this is one of his earliest things he worked on. But Susie Dieter might be a name that may be too unfamiliar to you people out there. She's the director of this. Mostly she was known for directing several episodes of The Simpsons around this time period. In fact, she directed the crossover episode of The Critic that we'll eventually get to here, A Star is Burns. She was actually the first female director on The Simpsons, as well as The Critic, and also on Futurama and Baby Blues. She's done a ton of work on Recess as well. She did a couple of Looney Tunes shorts in the 2000s, and she was a storyboard artist on the movie Open Season. So the story is that this episode involves Jay's masculinity being called into question after Doris rescues Jay from a studio fire, and so Jay basically decides that in order to prove that he's a macho man, he's got to go train for the New York Marathon. And in this particular episode, this is one of those episodes where one half I think is funnier than the other half. I feel like this time around, the second half with the marathon subplot is really funny. Like, it has a lot of the funniest gags in there. Like, not that the first half doesn't have any really funny jokes in it. There's a lot of good, funny elements to it. Like, the whole thing about how, you know, Jay has to be saved by Doris, and he's basically seen as a pariah in the town in New York City, to the point where they make a Fox TV movie, because Fox made TV movies back then, with Jessica Tandy as Doris and this sumo wrestler guy as Jay, and he's just like, help, I've got to go potty, and like Jay and Marty are watching it, and Marty's just like, did you really say that? And he's just like, I may have said potty, but it was taken completely out of context. And like, the first half has a couple of those jokes that are funny, but not really a ton of great funny moments there. I think the second half, really, when we get to the marathon subplot, that's where I think the real crux of the hilarity happens in here, because there's a ton of great hilarious moments in the second half. Like, probably my favorite moment in there is with Bob Costas, who has a cameo in this. They're getting ready to start the New York City Marathon.
That wasn't the starting gun, that was just some stray gunfire that hit the BF skid-marked blimp. Can we get a shot from the blimp?
And you hear you hear a gun, and you think it's the starting gun of the marathon, and Bob Costas is just like, no, that wasn't the starting gun, that was actually a stray gun that hit the BF skid-marked blimp. And it's just like, can we get a shot from the blimp? And then you see the blimp just going down and about to hit somebody in a boat. That's one of my favorite moments in the episode. But it has a lot of great stuff like that. It's a very brief cameo by Bob Costas. There's a lot of jokes about the then New York mayor, Mario Cuomo. There's a great bit where Jay is going off gets his second win. He starts hallucinating like the town of New York City is like this magical place, and they use a song that's literally a parody of the Milford Plaza Broadway commercials they had back then.
Come on along and listen to the lullaby of Broadway, the hickory and ballyhoo.
The lullaby of Broadway.
The rumble of a subway train, the rattle of the taxis, the daffodils who entertain at Angelo's and Maxie's. And in the center of it all
Is the Milford Plaza.
Come on along and listen to the lullaby of Broadway. Oh, yeah.
the Milford Plaza is the lullaby of all Broadway.
There's a great thing that I think is supposed to be a reference to Law and Order, where Jay thinks he's crossed the finish line. He ends up on a place where somebody had just died, and the cops are just like, well, this guy's been sitting here for an hour. And Jay gets up and just like, I've been declared dead by better people like you. And the guy who's saying all this stuff suddenly has a heart attack and dies. And just like Jay's just walking away like nothing's happened. It's just like, it's really funny stuff. And but on top of that, though, it's just the second half really is the best part of the episode. The animation is really good. The episode definitely redeems itself by having the marathon subplot being the second half of the episode. It's where a lot of the funniest jokes are in this show. And like I said, the first half isn't bad, just not as good as the second half. I really do think the second half really comes along and really saves this episode from being anything less than a mediocre episode. It's a really good episode, but you just have to get through the halfway point to really see the true enjoyment factor of this episode.
Excuse me, sir. The show's over.
I'm stuck in the chair.